Hello and welcome to a special year-end edition of the France 24 debate. I'm François Picard. At the heart of those two seminal events of 2016, the Brexit vote, Donald Trump's election, the fear of immigrants. Immigrants blamed for stealing jobs and undercutting wages, coupled with the resentment of companies that prefer to hire abroad than at home. But are foreigners really to blame for the constant upheaval we've witnessed in the West? The stagnant wages, the disappearance of manufacturing and low-skilled jobs. Well, perhaps you shouldn't blame unemployment on human beings at all, but on robots. The trend we described began to really take hold in the 1980s, about the same time when the first personal computers entered our homes. Inventions like the cash machine started to redefine our world. First, it was manufacturing jobs. Now it's in the services industry. Today, we see the first restaurants that don't even have waiters and cashiers. Where will those workers go? A new line of work, or simply the unemployment line? Some even suggest giving up on jobs altogether. From January the 1st, Finland's going to experiment with what's called a universal basic income, a permanent wage for citizens. It's just an experiment. But what does it mean for our species if robots replace humans? Is the ultimate dream to work less or to work more? Today in the France 24 debate, we're asking if automation is destroying our labor market. With us, he's worked for companies both big and small, from a real estate firm to founding e-learning company Edu Factory. Denis Jacquet, you chair the Observatory of the Uberized Economy. Perhaps we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. It's a motley group of people coming together to think about all of these changes. Carol Ulmer of the think tank and lobbying group Confrontations Europe.
Hello.
You're calling for I guess I'd call it a coordinated Europe-wide approach to investments, to industrial policy.
Exactly, yes.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. Alistair Gould, member of France's largest trade union confederation, the CGT. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And German biotech startup founder Jakob Hessler is with us as well. Thank you for being with us. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation throughout the year on Facebook and Twitter, hashtag F24debate. Here we sit in our beloved Studio B, all five of us. I say five because the cameras here in the studio are operated by remote control. No human beings needed on this side of the glass. Thanks to new software, or because of new software, you might say, our crack technical team in Master Control recently went from 6 staff to 4, just 4 people behind the glass on the technical side. And it's not just television studios that have undergone a revolution. More and more shopping happens virtually. Last year, when Amazon announced it was opening a physical store, the defenders of the high street neighborhood small business cried victory. But as you can see, the first Amazon Go shop to open in the new year in Seattle has a twist.
No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically.
Alistair Gould, would you like to shop at Amazon Go?
No.
Why not? It's
completely dehumanized.
But you like waiting online? Sometimes, you're in a rush. You stand online at the checkout counter.
Well, that's another point, isn't it? But in general, I think we have to be careful about moving more and more into this internet technological era without thinking about the human effect.
You agree with that, Jakob Hessler?
Well, I would say I think we have no choice. So I think the question is...
No choice.
No, I think this will come to a large extent. It will not completely drive out human labor, but it will, over time, replace a lot of human labor and not just physical labor. I think the maturation of artificial intelligence will drive many of what people consider today safe jobs in much more white-collar type professions particularly in the profession. So you can say accounting and audit will do 93% of the tasks will be automatized in, well, let's say, 10, 15 years. Now, does that mean that you can't have an auditor anymore? No, there will be, but there will be much less. There will be much less of needed. And I think the technological change history, at least I don't know of any example where the sheer will of man has been able to halt the impact of technological change on the economy and on the way a society works. But the question is, so what are we going to do?
Do you
about
look forward to a grocery store like that one?
I don't buy packaged food. So all of this is packaged food, and I buy it little of it as possible. And when I buy it online. So yes, that's nice. But I buy, for part of what I buy, why not? But for others, it will never be, what I buy will never be in that store.
So you say we have no choice, that it's inevitable, and except in your case, you do not buy that way. And so you do have a choice.
No, but it has to do with the products. I don't,
But
You also have, digital economy is also bringing other options, I think, on the table. You have small producers of Apple, whatever, that are now able to be in direct contact with their customers. So you are able to buy your Apple directly to the producer and then skip the intermediaries that you were using before. And so digital economy...
You still have to do your big weekly shop, though, right?
Well, yeah, but you can still use now some new tools, thanks also to the digital economy, that are bringing producer and consumer closer together. Now, what is the key question is which type of platform we want to have to organize those exchanges. And then you have really the big question there.
Well, my original question was, what happens to the cashier?
Obviously, this type of repetitive task is probably will disappear. That's pretty much obvious. But those are not the only jobs that are threatened by the automation. All type of repetitive jobs.
But what happens to that person? Unemployment?
Probably.
Yeah.
And the key question here is how do we train these people to make them able to go to some other jobs? And I think this is the key issue today, that we just turn a blind eye on these issues. We don't really care about these questions today. And we don't have the training systems that are accompanying those people whose job is going to change anyway, because the revolution is here anyway.
Denis Jacquet, is there a plan? Is there any kind of a plan to get that person who was working as a cashier to find them a different kind of job that they can do?
It's amazing that we have this discussion today, because nobody is having this discussion. So the problem is that everybody is saying, oh, we have to do that, we are to go digital, we are to go automation, we have to increase productivity. That's not good answers. Because we don't ask the questions. So we have to ask a question first. So what do we do with these people? So certainly, and I do agree, we will have to go through it. But we can make choices and we can anticipate and say, okay, these people won't have a job anymore. What do we do with these people? And we should ask the question. So
is anybody asking the question?
No, nobody.
At the Labor Ministry?
That's because the time lag is too long.
Yeah.
It's this time lag where it's building up slowly, but too long to have one election cycle. So nobody's going to vote on this because it's a really more long-term task. The problem, though, is that these things build up slowly, but once they're there, it will go very fast that they will flip over, and then suddenly the situation is there, and then it will be too late to react to it.
You mean they're not even having this discussion in places like Spain, where it's 20% unemployment has become something chronic?
I don't think this debate is had in a public way where you would say, how do we imagine a society where most repetitive physical and non-physical tasks are being carried out by robots. Physical, but I'm saying it's also with artificial intelligence. We have to be careful. It's also about white-collar analytic tasks, the majority of which will be automatized. People now say data scientist is the most sexy job. It's not true. In the future, data scientist, the job will be done by a machine that learns much better on data than does a data scientist. And only few will.
Do you agree with what Jacob said at the outset, that there's nothing we can do about it? This is just the way it's going to be.
I think what he says is that it's inevitable and these changes will come because at some point, even us, consumers, we are fueling this growth because at some point we are going to these stores and buying online and we don't care about no more cashiers anymore. We are the problem, us consumers. At some point, if we are going in this kind of stores, we know that we are killing a job and we just don't care because it's easy, it's fast, it's even sometimes cheaper, and we don't care. So the conscious, that doesn't exist. So at some point, you need to have something not national, but international. So it's a discussion that we need to have outside of France, outside of England, outside of Germany. It's a general trend. And we would say, okay, it's inevitable. Good. What do we do with these people? How do we train them? What kind of new jobs they would be able to accomplish? What kind of new job
And
would
do you have
we
any
be
idea
able
what
to create?
kind of new jobs can they?
No, I don't, because nobody knows. So what we know is that there will be more and more what we call routine jobs that will be low paid, and certainly most of these people will have several jobs at the same time. Will be delivering something, then doing something else, then being a VTC, the taxi driver, the new Uber driver during the day, then transportation during the night. They will accumulate 1, 2, or 3 jobs for something like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, euros per an hour, which is just non-acceptable. And on the other side, you will have very technical, sophisticated jobs that will exist and nothing in the middle. Yeah. So what we must not forget, it's not only routine jobs, it's only progressively more skilled jobs that are performed by robots and automation.
Carol Umer, you're saying you've been working on how to help France's post office through all of this. France's post office, which used to be extremely bureaucratic, has become a lot more efficient, but has also shed a lot of mailmen. And that's come in for a lot of criticism because for many people who live alone in isolation, the person who delivers the mail is their only contact with the outside world.
It's true, and we have done some work with them, and they have really thought about these consequences of the digitalization of their company to try to find some new tasks to give their mailman also to perform. Not only giving the mail, but also, for instance, being the person that is the contact for an insurance. You break your car, the postman can take the picture of your car and send it to the insurance company, for instance. So you have some type of other missions that are sought for the man. But because the post office, at least in France, the company, is trying to keep human capital as the center of his company, he knows that it's very important to keep this human contact, especially in the countryside, where, as you said, it's quite important to have this personal human contact. But it's difficult. Competition is fierce. Some other postal offices in other countries have done some different choices, so it's not that easy to go through this revolution. But what is key is that the business model of all type of company is now challenged anyway by the digital revolution.
What do you think of that idea, Alistair, that you so that the mailman, we're getting less mail than we used to, and it's true that the post office has compensated by doing more express delivery service, these kinds of things. But the idea of giving the mailman other tasks, and that way at least we keep that human contact.
Well, why, François, have you allowed the debate to go along the corporate lines and the business line? No one has mentioned yet public policy and what the political system can do about this, this situation that you talked about, skipping intermediaries. It's not. We need politicians to address this issue just as much as being led by global multinational companies.
But in the case of the, what's your reaction when you hear about the postman or postwoman of the future who does more than just deliver the mail, but does a lot of other activities, helps out with insurance claims, this kind of thing?
Well, I think it's a big issue that you go into the post in France and you're encouraged to use the machines, because that seems to have been a fait accompli to the workforce over a period of time, and that's why there's been some kickback.
But I think we haven't addressed explicitly the public policy issue because we first are describing the phenomenon and its effect. Now, none of us so far has said that there is not a role for public policy to play.
Training is a public policy,
Training is
so
one.
I think we mentioned one.
Training is one. I think the one thing that we see is that we will have the sort of algorithmic elite on one hand, and then you have, and that's the question, those who still have a job, because of our labor laws today, the economy, the jobs that are being created at the low end, it's all the gig, it's what the English call the gig economy. And we're now, what we're producing is we're producing this gig economy, which creates labor conditions that are, to put it mildly, unacceptable. But the problem is, by not having a general debate about labor law and about flexibilization of work and about the future of work, we are pushing those jobs naturally into that area. And so if we don't pay attention, there will be no more jobs in that normal, I know, 9-to-5 type job kind of category. So we'll have the gig economy and we'll have sort of the superstars, which will be a globally educated, people, and who won't be in that type of contract either. And the real question, the public policy debate is, what's the future of work and how is work to be regulated, access to, educated for, taxed? How do we tax? Do we tax work or do we tax income? And so today in France, for example, we have a system that very, very clearly overtaxes work as opposed to other factors of production, which, given the fact that everyone is so obsessed with unemployment, is a complete nonsense. But can you have a debate in France with any politician on, well, if work is so important, how can we make sure that work is not the most taxed factor?
All right, we're going to pick up on these points when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching a special year-end edition of the France 24 debate.